Hey everybody, today we're going to be taking a look at Black Ops 3. Now I know I already took a look at this quite a long time ago, but the game ran absolutely terrible and my advice was not to buy it on the PC because the port was bad, and if you wanted to play it you should buy it on the PS4. Well, a lot of you guys have told me that the game has been improved a lot since then, and I wanted to go back and take a quick look at it. Now, I'm not going to compare this against the PS4. Infinite Warfare comes out soon, and I'll do a full video on both of those. And I'm not looking at the single player either, because multiplayer is a more demanding environment, and I just bought the multiplayer starter pack for that reason, because I have no interest in playing the game. I was just buying it to check out for you guys, and I hope you understand. And, of course, multiplayer is the reason most people buy this game anyway. Now, before, the game played okay, but then every few minutes there would be massive CPU spikes up to 100% across all 4 cores, and the RAM usage would slowly get out of control even when using the game's recommended amount of RAM. So the game was just a bad port. And things have gotten quite a bit better. The CPU usage sometimes does get into the high 80s, so it is a little bit of a problem, but most of the time it stays in the 30s to 60s, and it's not a big deal. And when the CPU spikes happen, they aren't as severe and they don't affect the frame rate nearly as much, so that's quite a bit improved. Also improved is the RAM usage. It now is okay. It's still a little bit high, but it's not unreasonable. It stays between 6 and 7 gigabytes, and there don't appear to be huge spikes or any big memory leaks, so that's also good, and that's also definitely an improvement. So now that the game runs okay, how good does it look on the masher? Well, in my opinion, it's still not a great port, so it looks okay, but not amazing. Based on what I can remember, it looks about as good as the PS4 version, but maybe slightly worse, and that largely comes down to the options we have available on the PC version. Here it is running the game at medium settings, and it looks okay. The VRAM usage is pretty high, and the textures really don't look as good as they should for the VRAM usage being that high. These look like textures that should take up maybe a gig to 1.5 gigs of VRAM tops. So, not really sure why it's taking up this much. Doesn't look great. And overall, the game just looks fine. It doesn't look amazing, at least not on medium settings, but it looks fine. But to keep the frame rate stable at medium, I had to lower the resolution scaling to 80%. And unlike Overwatch, the resolution scaling in Black Ops 3 does not work that well, and it doesn't look that great either. A lot more options would be really appreciated, and just better handling of the scaling would be nice too, because it looks actually a bit lower resolution than it actually is running with the resolution scaling on. Now, for anyone curious, the PS4 version also does not run at native 1080p in multiplayer, but it's a different type of resolution scaling that I can't directly compare. Based on my understanding, the PS4 version runs at the same vertical resolution, but it runs at half of the horizontal resolution. And on the PC, as far as I know, it's just a linear reduction in the resolution for both horizontal and vertical axes, so I can't directly compare them. Suffice it to say, the game looks a little bit soft, the textures aren't that great at these settings, and overall, it really does not look as good as a game that runs this poorly should look. So, I'm still not very impressed, but it's not broken in the same way that it was earlier this year. It's not a completely trashed game. It's not a completely hopeless game as far as a port goes. And if you want to play it, I guess you could pick it up and still play it now. But I still don't think it's that good, and I don't know that I would recommend it. As a small side note, if I turn the settings up to high and lock the frame rate at 30, which I know is pretty ridiculous for a competitive shooter, but if you lock the game at 30, you get to see some of the worst motion blur I think I've ever seen in a game. I play plenty of games at 60 and 30, and 60 pretty much always looks better, but 30 is usually okay, it's usually not terrible, but I would say the motion blur in Black Ops 3 is so bad that it makes 30 FPS absolutely unplayable, even if you wanted to. I cannot understand why they would put this in the game. I'm assuming they didn't test it and assumed everyone else would want to run the game at 60 FPS maybe. Who knows, but this motion blur is absolutely terrible. Still, that's not that important for the overall comparison. I could play Black Ops 3 at native 1080p and low settings and it was okay, and I could play it at 80% resolution scaling at medium settings and it was a little bit better, but it's not great at either of them. It doesn't look amazing on either of them, and even though it's running at a higher resolution than the PS4 when it's running at native 1080p, I don't really know that it looks that much better because the PS4 seems to have a lot more granular improvements to the optimization, and the PC port still feels rushed and poorly done. So If it was me and I really wanted to play this, and I didn't really mind if I had to use a keyboard or mouse compared to a controller, I'd probably pick this game up on the PS4 because you can find physical copies for $20 or so right now, and you can try it out, sell it, and get Infinite Warfare in a month or two. That's what I would do. But thank you everybody for watching. There'll be more full reviews to come. There was just a couple of these shorter videos I wanted to make for a couple things that have been on my mind recently, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Consider liking it if you liked the video, and I'll talk to you later.